You're listening to Best Forevers, a podcast for kindred spirits, a podcast that encourages you to love more on your friends and to further consider the issues that plague friendships. I'm Alysa Lucas, and I'm pretty proud today because this is the 100th episode of Best Forevers, and I am so pleased to be able to reach 100 episodes thanks to friends, family, my editor, Susan, who I love and adore, all of you listeners, guests, everything. I wouldn't be here without all of you and the support for a relationship that is critical in our life and that sometimes doesn't get the attention it deserves. So today what I wanted to do was go over some friendship lessons that have been learned. And I didn't just, let me come up with the lessons that I've learned, which I will discuss. However, I asked some of my favorite people, friends, guests, co-workers, former students, all sorts of people to tell me what they've learned about friendship, and I'd like to share those stories with all of you. So let's go ahead and get started today. So some of my best pod friends and now in real life friends, Courtney and Sasha from Spoop Hour, who you know probably very well because they've been on the podcast several times, and they will be on again. And so when I asked them, what have they learned about friendship, they sent me a list of items. So friendship shouldn't have to cost a lot of money. You don't always have to go to the bar to have a great time. I can't remember the last time I went to a bar to have a good time. I think it was 20 years ago. Friends let friends have different hobbies. It's fun to share different interests. That's a great one because it's like, okay, you can learn more about something that you don't know about. And I know with my friend Sarah, the first time I ever used a glue gun was under her supervision, and I've never felt that I could, paint or do other things like that. And I certainly have been able to do that with Sarah. They said it's okay to let go of friends, especially if they're harming you or the friendship is no longer healthy. And I think that's something that weighs on our hearts a little bit more than, it's just one of those things that's really heavy. And I have a series of episodes coming up about letting those toxic friends go. And so hopefully this is something that we can sort of navigate through together and talk about ways in which to handle the different situations that come up when we do have friends that are no longer good friends to us or that we can no longer be good friends to them. You don't have to see friends every day to be there for them. People have lives. They do, because I don't think I do. No, we're all so busy. And another thing to think about is so many people are at such a great distance that they can't be there in your face every single day. And there's lots of ways in which we can stay connected. Tell people you want to be their friend. We're all scared, but mostly we'll be open to a new buddy. And I think, and this is where I think about friendship like dating. It's like you got to put yourself out there and be like, hey, do you want to hang out? Do you want to be Facebook friends? Shall we go get that coffee together? Shall we move from the women's basketball game to, I don't know, a dinner at a sushi place? That we have to do that, because the other thing is, maybe someone's a little bit more scared than you and can turn out to be a really great friendship. And then the last one, which I consider shots fired. I said, going to Noodles and Company with friends is great. Do it. You'll thank us later. And the reason why this is shots fired is I was not invited. It doesn't matter if I live in a different state. You can still invite me. I'll just have to say no. And maybe I'll have Noodles and Company for dinner tonight because it is delicious. So thank you, Courtney and Sasha. Those are all great lessons that we can take. And what I like about hearing from other people is it's a good time to be reminded or to reflect on our friendships and what can we do differently. And I hope, maybe every podcast episode of Best Forevers does that for you. And this is a time where I've asked people to reflect and to share. And if you'd like to reflect and share, you can send me your friendship lessons via Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook at Best Forevers Pod, or my Gmail account is bestforeverspod@gmail.com. Funny how it works out that way. So the bestie, Kate Cosgrove, who you've heard from, a lot of the people you might have heard from in some way, she wrote me one that, this one I feel ever since I got it, I've sort of been thinking about it because I think this is something that we don't often think about. The thing I learned about friendship this year is it doesn't matter how old I get, how much I know I will survive them. Goodbyes are still really hard and still make me feel very small. And I think that is the thing when we have friends that are in our lives every single day and then they're not. It does take there's like some level of grieving, even though the person is still in your life somehow. It's a change to your daily life, to their support of you and your support of them. And goodbyes are hard. And one of the things that I would say is that we need to prepare for them. What can we say to each other? Can we go back to what Courtney and Sasha said and let them know that we want to be friends? Let's talk about what it's going to mean when you leave or when I leave, or how is it going to be different? How will it be the same? And a real chance to let people know how we feel. Kate continues and says, I also have learned that I want grace from people when it comes to me and my moods or mistakes, and that I want to be the kind of person and friend who can also offer my loved ones some space and love to mess up too. Quote, it's earth, not heaven. We don't have to be perfect, end quote. That's from a made-for-TV movie about supermodel Gia. Oh, fashion industry, you have so much to teach us. And Kate, I remember us watching Gia or talking about Gia a lot when that came out, and that was starring Angelina Jolie, and it is a fantastic movie. And I think that quote is right on, that perfection is not something that we need to be, and that we're never going to be perfect. And if we adjust our expectations so that we can have that space to be human and know that our friends are going to allow us to be human, we need that acceptance and support and the no judgment and the, I understand this isn't your day, this isn't your week, what can I do to help? Or I'll see you next week, or whatever the case is. So another dear friend, Tierney, sent me a text message, and then we talked about it over the phone, what her friendship lesson is. And it's simply that friends become our family. And we get to choose those family members. And specifically, some people don't have families that are rocking, and you're like, yeah, I love my family. And it's the friends that we get to choose to take that place. Or if you think about it and you do have an amazing family, that you get to expand upon it by adding in these wonderful people that we call friends. Tara sent me this lesson, and I think she's onto something. Maybe she wants to take over the podcast. The most important thing I've learned about friendship, I think I would have only learned by growing up and moving across country. You can have lots of good friends who have different roles in your life. I remember when I was younger, even through college, I thought, quote, you are my friend and I'm your friend, so we do all the things together, end quote. It's great fun until you get tired of each other or realize you don't love one of all the things, and that can be really tough, yeah. I had friends when I was younger who were huge pessimists, which I realized didn't work for me, so I had to create space. It bothered me that I didn't have them so involved in my life, but after a while I realized that for me, they kept me grounded. It's just that I could only talk with them in small doses. Or even just friends to do different things. I love wine and whiskey, and friends, she does. And I have a few friends who love to go wine or whiskey tasting with me. I'll do the wine, I'm not going to do the whiskey. Sorry, friend. I'll drink something else while you do the whiskey. I don't expect them to join me on a 5-mile run, thank you, or to help me with a work problem. The same conversations sometimes happen across these situations, and the talk, insight, and perspective each of those friends provides has made me grow and become more aware of people and experiences. But if I ask my work friends to go for a 5-mile run with me to talk, they look at me like I was crazy. As I, quote, grew up, I realized that having lots of different friends can be much better than having just a few friends to do everything with and talk about everything with. Have friends who play different roles in your life. Making friends in adulthood is so much easier when you do that. And being a friend is so much better because I don't expect so much from one person. Thank you, Tara. I think the point that I really like here is, and I do think it takes some time to realize that not all of our friends are going to be everything to us. And for some people, they have lots of friends, and for some people, they have a smaller amount of friends. And they would say it's quality over quantity, which I agree with. But I think Tara makes an excellent point here, and that if we put everything on one person, that can be a lot to carry, as well as their own life and concerns and things like that. And so when you have different people doing different things, then you might learn more, you might get different types of insight, and then not every one person feels like they have to carry everything for you. My friend Bia, who I used to work with at Mansfield University, we used to drive together to work, and I used to love those times because we called it our little think tank where we work through problems. So talk about a friend who has a role, right? Like me and Bia talked a lot about teaching and other things like that. The thing I've learned over the years is to know my friends and accept who they are and to love them for it. Expect nothing else. We all have different capacities. Think about what your friendships is. Don't think that your really fun, wild friend will suddenly become responsible. And don't hold them to that because that's not who they are or what they bring to your friendship. Your loyal friend might be a bad decision maker. Don't expect them to change. Appreciate their loyalty. Maybe your friendship helps keep them from a few bad decisions and helps you experience cool things. I love that. And I think that is an extension of what Tara says is you have people doing different things and then B is adding in accept them for them and don't expect them to change because, okay, so we talk about this in my dark side of communication class. There's this concept called fatal attraction. It's most often discussed in romantic relationships. I have talked to my students about doing an episode about it for friendship. And fatal attraction is when the thing that you are attracted most in a person becomes the thing that is most annoying. So someone who is wild, at first you might be attracted to him because it's fun, but then you get annoyed with it. And it might come down to what Bia is saying is the idea of acceptance. Like, remember that your wild friend is going to be the fun friend. Your loyal friend is going to be your loyal friend. And that is amazing. And let's embrace that. My friend Carrie, who I met through work, who is a wonderful person, said this. The most important thing I've learned about friendship is this. In order to have close, comfortable, long-lasting friendships, the kind that most people dream of, one must make a conscious decision to repeatedly show up for their friend. Life is busy and complicated, so it can be very easy to let friendships slip to the back burner. The act of showing up can be done a million different ways, both big and small. Send a text just to say hi, bring over coffee or dinner, mail them a card, remember the landmark days in their lives, the good and the bad ones, and acknowledge them. It's too easy to get wrapped up in the notion that if we don't have the time right now for a night out or a weekend trip, then the friendship sits in a holding pattern until our schedule allows us time to do the big stuff. Instead, find friendship in the small spaces. It's surprising how one little gesture can really brighten someone's day. Likewise, the value added to the friendship through these seemingly insignificant actions often far exceeds the effort put forth to do them. Be consistent, stay connected, and watch the friendship flourish. Oh my goodness, you guys. My little friendship heart is so big right now. These are amazing lessons, and Carrie, these are things that I love that Carrie said this because these are things that Carrie has done for me as a friend, right? When I was sick, she brought me Gatorade, like just the little things to be like, we're friends even though it's crazy and kids and not mine. I don't have any kids and work and all those things can get in the way, but we work in the same building, so stop by and saying hi or sending the text message or because we'll do the let's get sushi until we die unless we make something happen. And I really like this idea that we need to show up for our friend and that we don't want our friendships to take the back burner. And sometimes we just don't know what we can do. And I think this is a good reminder that we can find even the smallest space to say that we're friends. Oh, my friend Amber, who, if you listen to my true crime podcast, Fatalities, you are very familiar with Amber because she is a three-peat friender is what I like to call it. Kind of like a fender, but a friend. Anyway, she's great. You should listen to the podcast and listen to her episodes because she's amazing. So she says, a friendship lesson that I've learned is not to surround yourself with yes friends. People always take your side regardless if you are right or wrong because they think that's what friendship is. Friendship isn't just having someone's back. You need people that will be honest with you and people who value themselves as well as the friendship you have with them. Although there is greater probability that there will be some bumps in the road with real friends, and she put real in all caps. They are the people who are willing to put in the work and craft a meaningful, lasting friendship instead of just functioning as someone you hang out with. Wow, this is, I think, pretty powerful lesson that Amber is talking about, is that, and this it links with the research that I've done on sexual decision making with friends and the type of social support they provide. College students, for example, I found in my dissertation and some other studies that friends are likely to provide esteem support when it regards to sexual decisions like hooking up at a party. And esteem support is just making the person feel good about themselves. And yeah, we need some hype people in our life, like make us feel good. But if you're always just like, yes, do that, go for it, all this good stuff, then it can end up being a problematic friendship because you're enabling them. You are not putting a mirror to their face, to their decisions, to other things that are going on. And oftentimes we think of friendship as people who are going to be honest with us. Or at least that maybe we hope they are. Sometimes it can be hard to be honest. Sometimes those can be difficult conversations. But yes, friends are going to be ones that can lead us down a path of just being like, yeah, let's hang out versus let's have real talks. I really need help right now. I need support in a way that I could never imagine asking a friend for. And I think Amber's lesson really gets at that. So the next person is Bernie, who's one of my most favorite people in the whole wide world. I work with Bernie, and she is one of the most stylish, fun, thoughtful people that I've ever met. And she said, and of course then this is going to be amazing. I've already read it, so I know. Friendships are a gift we are able to choose to be part of our lives. The best friendships are a gift that transcend time and place, becoming the purest form of being family, which I love because it connects with my good friend Tierney. The family in which you are born is a blessing in most cases and can provide love, support, wisdom, and understanding. A true friend is the family you choose that best aligns with whom you are in each stage of your life. Some friendship gifts are for a lifetime. Others have a brief stay for what you need during a particular phase. Those lifers, as Bernie calls them, align with your soul and remain a constant, regardless of time and distance and changes of circumstance. They will rise to the surface and remain by your side and in your heart forever and always. Love it, love it, love it, love it. There's two things here. Well, actually three, right? It goes back to family with Tierney. I like this idea of they have a brief stay during different phases, which reminds me of what Tara said about friends having different roles. And that also, in the third point, we just have friends as lifers. I love that. I love that term, Bernie. And I know that we all have lifers out there. So this is the moment right now. Do what Carrie said, something small, and take what Bernie said and text your lifer right now and tell them how much they mean to you. Or say, here's some inappropriate or goofy meme or gif. However your friendship works, this is the perfect time to do it. So I recently went to the She Podcasts conference in Atlanta and met some of my podcast people. And one of those is new friend Becky from Homespun Haints. And she said, my number one lesson for my friends is loyalty. I don't expect my friends to put me before their spouse or family, of course, but I do hope they'll stick by my side through the thick and thin, and I'll do the same for them. If I can't do that for them, I have no business being their friend either. And I love that. I think that goes back to what Bia says with loyalty is if they're loyal, accept them. Accept them for that, but also know that there are some expectations because lives are busy. I think Sasha and Courtney said people have lives, even though that's something I question. That sometimes friends can't be at the forefront, but we can find those spaces. And I think space is a word we've heard from several different of my friends today. And I think that is something that we can take away from this particular episode is that we have to find that space and know that the space next to me, on my left, on my right, is always open for my friends. And I hope that they'll be there whenever I might need them or when they can be there. One of my favorite former students, you're not supposed to have favorites, but whatever, is Meredith. And it says, I think I've learned a few really important things about friendship and adulthood. First, sometimes friends are meant to serve a purpose. Oh my God. This is one of my students, so she's in her 20s, and then, sorry, Tara, put you on blast, is in her 40s, like me, and that they have similar lessons that they've learned, and I think that's amazing. So let me continue with Meredith. It says, sometimes friends are meant to serve a purpose, and it's okay to let friends out of our lives when they no longer fit where they are. Those are those brief stays that Bernie was just talking about. Those people may come back into your life or they may not, and that's okay. Be thankful for the time you shared together. And this, of course, is going to be the time, because I always stop when anything comes up like this to remind us of the wonderful work that Bill Rollins did and has done on friendship. He was my 1-year podiversary episode, Friendship Matters, and his work on friendship has certainly shaped me as a person, as a friend, and as a researcher. And he talks about commemorative friends, that people we think of fondly. And I know you've probably heard me talk about commemorative friends and Bill Rollins 74 times. Well, here's the 75th. Be thankful for the time that you shared together with the friends that were good to you and good with you, and that you're so glad that you were friends with. So the second thing that Meredith learned, she says, sometimes the hardest thing, but the best thing, is to keep your mouth shut until your friend asks you for your opinion. A lot of time, friends just need to be heard. I've said to friends, quote, when you want my opinion on that, you know where to find me, end quote. And I've always found that that's for the best. So I think this connects to Amber and this idea is that we don't want yes friends, but we also want friends who will listen. They can help us, but sometimes we just need to vent. And for some people, their style might be to immediately fix things, to problem solve, to come up and brainstorm solutions. And sometimes people just want someone to listen to them. Third, friendships, like any relationship, take work. Yes, girl. Yes, they do. Snaps. They take meeting friends where they need you and taking your friends for their annoying and or bad qualities because of the great ones. So here, I think she's saying, like, you got to meet them where they are. You got to meet in the middle. But then also, we all have annoying qualities, except for, like, me, right? I'm not annoying. Me doing my best Kardashian example, right? No, we all have annoying or negative qualities, and we have to take those with the amazing qualities as well. Friendships take communication, and they take showing up every day to make them work. I just love how I asked a bunch of people to provide these friendship lessons and how you can start to hear certain things like it's okay if they're no longer in your life, but it's, making space for them. It's taking support for them. It's showing up for them. And I think we're starting to see either some new or some extension of friendship markers. You need to show up for your friend to be considered a friend. She said, I would also recommend to any listener to talk about all the things with your friends. I have found that friendship that mean the most to me now are the friends that I talk to about things like finances and politics. Maybe it's that we're a bunch of introverts, but the meaningful, deep, nitty-gritty conversations mean way more to me now than simple things. Not that sharing the struggle of cooking for one isn't a struggle. Eating the same thing for a week makes you not eat again for months. I like eating the same thing. But 401ks and the best credit cards for miles versus points are just as important as sharing dog memes. Okay. So my good friend Jonathan from episode 5, he says, it's been a long time since episode 5, and I've been thinking a lot more about how we men do friendships with other men. 2 weeks ago, I went hiking with an old college friend in Zion National Park in Utah, and besides our bad knees and 40-year-old backs, oh no, it felt just like we were back on our college campus in the late 90s. At the same time, we were finally mature enough to also talk about what was really going on in our lives. When I was on the podcast, we talked a little bit about how, contrary to popular belief, men can have close relationships with other men, but it's that closeness that emerges may come in more covert ways that we usually see with women's friendships. Men engage other men all the time, even if that engagement happens in spite of a culture of machismo. I've got good news, though. This past weekend, I was fortunate to help lead a college retreat up in the San Diego mountains on masculinity for my university, bringing together undergraduates, graduate students, faculty, and staff who are all male-identified and interested in better navigating our world. The big change that I've seen in the past couple years since episode 5 has to do with men being willing to admit or to confront loneliness, something which I never used to see a men of any age admit. If the cultural trope of the strong silent type is breaking down with regard to admitting loneliness or confronting mental illness or any of the myriad other problems that confront men and women of all ages, then I have great hope that many other factors inhibiting close male friendships may be losing traction in our modern culture as well. I'm so glad that Jonathan was able to send in his friendship lesson because his episode is one of my favorites. I have a very I am concerned about male friendships. I want to hear about male friendships. I want to know about male friendships. I think male friendships need more attention and respect. And I really am so proud of Jonathan for all the work that he's done. And I'm so glad that there are male-identified individuals who want to navigate the world in a better way and learn more about what it means to be lonely or to admit to that, or what are the next steps and how can we decrease those feelings of loneliness. And to me, that is something that I've learned a lot about and I still want to learn more about. So I'm so glad you wrote in, Jonathan. And stay tuned, friends, because Jonathan will be back on soon. My friend Alysa, who just moved to Nashville, so we are navigating the changes of when people are no longer maybe directly in your life, but still in your life, because Alysa and I, we are so excited. She texted me and was like, there's an otter emoji now. And all it was like 50 boxes of question marks because I hadn't uploaded the new software or whatever. And so I was like, oh, hold on. So I downloaded it and we've been using the otter emoji ever since. So, you know, she's in Nashville and I'm in Mount Pleasant, but I feel a lot closer with all the otters I've seen in the last week. So we need to keep that going, Allison. She says, hey, girl, hey. So once my best friend Brittany graduated from college, we have basically had a long-distance friendship. Also, as you know, my husband and I just moved 500 miles away from all of our friends. So through both of these experiences, I think an important friendship lesson is to remember that sometimes it's work, and you have to be willing to be the one who reaches out. She says, I hope this helps. Love Best Forevers. You do an amazing job, and I'm super proud of you. Thank you, Allison. Otter emoji. Another one of my favorite students, Lauren. When I think about friendship, I think about my best friends from high school that have been in my life for almost 10 years. 2 of them live out of state, and I've learned a lot about managing relationships through these experiences. What's most important to maintain these relationships is effort. One of these best friends works 70 hours a week, and the other is in law school. As you can imagine, we can't chat as often as we like. What's made our friendship strong over the years is being able to find those moments in our busy schedules where we can chat. Y'all, it's finding those small spaces. For example, we often chat when we are driving to and from places, or while we were walking around at the store, or other small moments where even if we can only chat for a few minutes, at least we know we're thinking of each other. Also, when we talk, our conversations are impactful and meaningful since we can't talk every day. Relationships are a two-way street, so each person involved needs to make conscious efforts and decisions to stay connected. That's something we strive to do as best friends. I love it. Carrie's like, find those small spaces, show up for your friend. Allison's like, you got to reach out. Courtney and Sasha are like, let people know you want to be friends. Like, we got to do this work. I'm over here just all happy with all the French. How did I do it? I can't do it. I can't speak French, but I am French. Yay. What I meant to say, I'm all excited about all the friendship juju I'm swimming in right now. I love it. So one of my first podcast friends and one of my first listeners that wasn't a relative or a friend who probably felt obligated to listen, and that is Heather from the wonderful podcast Sunshine and Power Cuts. She says, happy 100 episodes of Best Forevers. I've loved seeing your journey over the past 2 years, and here's to the next 100 and more. Thanks, Heather, and thanks so much for all of your participation in Best Forevers. The most important friendship lesson I've learned is about patience. Friendships can be intoxicating, exciting, feel like they're too distant or a lifeline when we need it, but they also take time. Sometimes we may feel like we hit it off with someone straight away, but we can't possibly know everything about them in one moment. Ain't that the truth? Nor they about us. And patience is one element that can help us navigate our way through together. With patience, we can go into friendships with an open mind. We take time to learn together. With patience, we respect the other person's time, energy, and their life outside our friendships. People do have lives. Okay, I got you. With patience, we were able to form a communication style that works for the friendship and fosters a deep mutual understanding that brings us together and helps when we may be far apart. Not all friendships are the same, and with patience, we seek friendships that value both ourselves and the other. It's hard to have patience when things are urgent, be that exciting or of serious concern, but there will always be someone somewhere we can share it with. Oh, I do love that, that we do have to have patience. It takes work. Friendships are that two-way street, and if there's someone who's busy, there might be someone else who will be just as happy for us and is willing to connect. And Heather, who's in New Zealand, or as I like to say, my future friend Heather, I know that any excitement is going to come from a day before, and I love it. And if she's busy, then it's not like who's next. Like you have a list, like a hierarchy. It's not a phone tree for a soccer team who's bringing the orange slices. No, it's this idea that we do have multiple friends, and maybe not everyone is going to be able to show up at the same time. And I think that's important, and that's where patience comes in. And that goes back to what Kate is saying, is that we give our friends the space to make mistakes, but it also might be give them the space for time they might need. And that's where we can be patient and loyal friends. So my friend Ashley, one of my faves, where she recorded me last night at the women's basketball game dancing. So I'll share that online. It's hilarious. But she was on the podcast. We talked about age because she's 10 years younger than me. And so we are in different spaces of life, but that has never impacted our friendship in a way that was problematic. And she says that I think one of the biggest lessons I've learned about friendship is that it isn't always going to be 50-50. There will be times when you might take on more of the lead and other times that the other person will. It's just the natural ebbs and flows of life. And sometimes one of us may need the other more. That's right. Another important lesson is that it's important to really think about who your true friends really are. One of my favorite sayings is, quote, make sure everybody in your boat is rowing and not drilling holes when you're not looking, end quote. Holy crap, that's great. A true friend's going to be rowing and not drilling holes. That's great. I've had to distance myself from people whom I used to consider very close friends, like stand up in your wedding kind of friends, after realizing that they were all contributing to my life with toxicity and negativity. Yes, if friends aren't good for us, we need to move on. Claire, one of my other favorite students. Notice I don't really have one, I guess, if they're all my favorite students. But Claire, who you know from all the book club episodes, has recently experienced some changes. And so I think her friendship lesson isn't particularly timely. My most important friendship lesson as a recently graduated student is meeting people where they're at, but also not being afraid to put the effort in. My best friend from college now lives 2,000 miles away in Texas, but some of my best friends from high school are now across town from me again. We are all collectively at very different points in our lives. Some went straight to school again, others are starting their careers. One is teaching English in France, figuring it out all across the Atlantic. Did you say au revoir? I'm the worst. I cannot do it. Someone help me roll my R's. All right. I'm now living at home, taking a gap year, working on myself for the first time in my adult life with minimal deadlines to meet and the space in my brain for things other than school. Learning how to be friends when, for the first time ever, you are not all doing the same thing at the same time has been an adjustment. From my friend that lives far away, it's understanding that I need to try to match what she's able to give in terms of our friendship. She moved to a new place, started school again, and a new job, so life is crazy for her, especially in comparison to my current flexible schedule. We talk at least once a week on the phone, and that's perfect for us. She's not really a texter, so I don't ever feel offended when I don't get a reply. I understand that's not what she can give me. But it also doesn't stop me from sending her cute animal videos and funny articles. We have adjusted our friendship to fit this new stage in life for both of us. For my friends that now live in town, reconnecting was a process but worth it. The way we went about doing it was having a standing plan during the week. Every Tuesday we carpool to trivia night at the local brewery and we have a blast. There's 3 of us make a good point to go out almost every week and rotating cast of others who make it when they can. We make it an effort collectively to see each other at least once a week, and that has allowed us to be the type of friends we were before we all moved away. And I have even become better friends with acquaintances from when we were teens. Finding that balance of both meeting people where they're at and not being afraid to be able to be the one to reach out and coordinate plans and FaceTime calls has been the key since leaving college. Understanding that we're all on different paths now, but that doesn't mean we can't meet at the same place every now and again. Very, very, very important message, Claire. I love this, meeting people where they are, knowing what this is. We have to know our friends. We need to know where they are, where we can meet them, what to expect so that we can accept that. All of these things are important and are going to make changes and adjustments and the ebbs and flows, as Ashley talked about, a whole lot easier. So finally, one of my favorite people on Twitter. She is a student at Central Michigan University. We've met very little in person, but she is one of my favorite people to follow, and I'm so glad that she wrote me a friendship lesson, and I think it's important to end with hers. The most important thing I've learned about friendships is that platonic love is just as valuable and important as romantic love. No one ever really talks about how friendships take work or how hard it can be to make friends as an adult. Movies and media make friendships look really easy, and y'all just hang out and do fun stuff. But intentional friendship also includes having hard conversations, making it known when your needs aren't being met, calling each other out on your BS, and supporting each other through good and hard times. Romantic love gets a lot of hype and is pretty cool, but true friendship love, all that stuff, is revolutionary. Alex. I feel like you hit the nail on the head of everything I wanted from doing this podcast and everything I've wanted by focusing on friendship in my life. That friendship is valuable, and it is so important to know that friendships aren't just going to be there, and they're not always easy, and that there can be a lot of difficult conversations, and that we shouldn't be the yes people. We need to make space for those mistakes. We need to show up. We need to know that we have to understand our friends, where they're at, and meet them where we can, because true friendship, love, wow, that stuff is revolutionary. Alex, I love that last line. I want to get it stitched on a pillow, on a t-shirt. We might be looking at some new merch. And so Alex's friendship lesson leads into the things that I've learned. And I think a lot of it I've tried to pull together as I've read through everyone's lessons. And this is what I try to do every single episode of the podcast, every single day of my life, and every single day in which I'm in the classroom with students and talking about relationships. Friendships take work. Relationships take work. You have to get oil changes in your car. If not, your car is going to break down. We need to do those oil changes. Those might be the small things that Carrie you're talking about. We need to make that space. And they take work, like Heather. It's patience. It's not always going to be 50-50. We have to show up. We have to provide that space. We have to accept our friends. There's lots of things we can do, but they take work. And more importantly, we should celebrate our friends. We should tell our friends that we love them, what they mean to us, why they're important to us, why we like being their friends, why we want to continue being their friends, and if changes and moves are going to happen, how we're going to go about doing our friendship. And these can be small celebrations. They can be big celebrations. They can be celebrations that are not actually celebrations. It's being there for those milestones, as Carrie said, and those can be good and bad. However, isn't it like everything I just said, don't pay attention to? No, those things are really important. However, we experience a lot of difficulties in our friendships, and we don't talk enough about it. So that's why I've spent some of the episodes of this podcast talking about how we can celebrate friendship, and some of the episodes talking about how we can make our friendships better. And what's to come in the near immediate future is how we can deal with toxic friendships. How do we end them? How do we understand them? How we can be gracious to ourselves in ending something that wasn't good, something that's not good for us, that makes us not a better person, not a better friend, not moving forward in life, feeling put down, feeling small, feeling anything. Sometimes friendships don't work, and that's okay. But what's not okay is when the management of it becomes even more toxic or dark, and we need to figure out how we can manage those difficult points of our life. And then finally, the thing that I think I've truly learned in the last 2 years is that I love friendship every bit as much as I did when I came out of my mom's womb looking for friends. However, I realize that perhaps my love for friendship, my often extroverted personality, my ability to connect with other people, that making friends can be easy for me. But that's not the case for everyone else. And there are people who struggle every day, feeling lonely, feeling rejected, feeling pushed aside, feeling like they're not heard, not understood, and don't have a place or a group of people they can call their own. And I think that is something that we all need to remember, and to show kindness to others and being friendly. And although that is different than friendship, that can make someone's day. But not only that as someone who loves on friendship as much as I do, who focuses on it in my podcast and focuses on my research, we truly need to figure out a way to help people with the skills, the trust, and any other healing for the things that they've experienced that make it difficult for them to make friends and keep friends. We need to figure out a way to help those people, because everyone deserves to be happy, healthy, and safe, and everyone deserves to have friends. So until next time, friends, think about the things that you've learned about friendship and be sure that you put them into action, because without our friends, who would we be? Listening to Best Forevers. If you like what you hear, be sure to subscribe, rate, review, and of course, share with a friend. Please be sure to follow Best Forevers on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Best Forevers Pod, and I'm at Dr. Alysa Lucas on Twitter. You can always find the podcast webpage for more information at bestforeverspod.com, and share your stories of friendship by emailing me at bestforeverspod@gmail.com. And if you'd like to support the movement to love on our friends more, check out the podcast on patreon.com/bestforeverspod. Now, friends, check out this recommended podcast that you must get in your ear holes immediately.
Did you ever go on vacation with your family and hope the dance instructor would fall in love with you?
No, but I did think a guy with a giant boombox playing Peter Gabriel outside my window in the middle of the night meant true and undying love.
Listen to our podcast, Happily Ever Aftermath, where we revisit these movies, and it turns out they weren't the best ideas.
What were we thinking?
You can find our podcast, Happily Ever Aftermath, on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, or your favorite podcatcher.
You can also tweet at us at HEAMCAST, Heamcast.